A night sky without stars is what life feels like without you. I dreamt of our reunion. I awaited your return. I saw an effervescent spark light up the night sky one day, thinking it was you. I chased it, mesmerized by its beauty. But it was only the light of the sun at dawn. The sun, the light that started it all. A staring contest ensued. I was humbled by its presence. Patience, it declared, everything comes in time. I waited and waited and will wait until I can return to the place where I was created, the place where I began. Take me in your arms, wrap them around me. Let's walk slowly. With time, I'll be able to see again, among the stars, on the darkest night. The poet and activist Muriel Rukeyser once said, quote, "The world is made up of stories, not atoms." When you think about the story of the Odyssey, Star Wars, The Wizard of Oz, and more, these stories most likely have shaped the way you saw the world and informed who you trusted. Almost everything that we understand about ourselves and our reality is based on a story and a belief that is informing our worldview. So why are stories so powerful? Stories hit you viscerally. They transport you to another place and time and often become symbols that remain in your subconscious mind. Powerful stories allow you to enter the consciousness and emotional world of another person and reality and identify with it. Joseph Campbell once said, "Myths are clues to the spiritual potentialities of the human life." And when it comes to movies, well, some of us spend more time with and connect more deeply with the characters on our screen than with our own families and friends. And we may even know them better than our families and friends. When we watch a show or a movie, we feel like we've joined the character on their journey. We've witnessed their pain, their triumphs, their celebrations, the way they overcome their struggles. There is perhaps a greater intimacy and a psychological attachment to the characters in great movies and shows that we watch than what is going on in the real world in our own living rooms. And as a storyteller, I believe that we have a great responsibility. We've witnessed the rise of fake news and stories in Hollywood and beyond that are often one-sided and promote violence for the sake of exciting people based on the lowest levels of human emotion, that of fear and anger. I believe that everyone shares the burden of responsibility today to encourage the truth and to be a part of telling their story. One of my many cousins who lived through the war and was 1 year younger than me lamented that he could not fall asleep at night. In his words, "It was terrifying to go to bed every night, not knowing if I would wake up alive the next day." The worst part about the Gulf War was not only the physical destruction of a country and its people, but the massive misrepresentation that happened from the media. So many news stories felt incredibly impersonal and one-sided. We never got to touch, feel, hear, or breathe the same air as those who lived in the war as civilians. As I got older, I thought that these misconceptions would be cleared. I thought that eventually the truth and other perspectives would emerge once the war ended. But it didn't, and in fact, it actually got worse. It seemed that movie after movie in Hollywood was told from only one perspective, that of a soldier from a Western country, but never from the receiving end of war and never from the perspective of a civilian or a family. And yes, some documentaries emerged, but they left me with this feeling that the stories were impersonal, that the people and the events were happening over there. And once it was over, we could push them out of our mind. We never went on their journey. It also left me frustrated because while at worst an Arab was portrayed as an enemy or a terrorist in Hollywood, at best they were victims without personalities. They were depersonalized and they lacked a real story. And even worse, the narrative of the Iraq War took up a majority of the coverage in media, with Iraqis as victims and Hollywood just really perpetuated this narrative. We missed a really important voice. I mean, imagine what the perception of the media has done to the minds of millions in the last 30 plus years, and even to your own mind. Let me ask you, what do you think about when you think about Iraq? What symbols do you hold when you think about the word Arab or Iraqi? It always felt in media or film that an Iraqi was either an antagonist or the victim, but they were never the hero or the protagonist in a story. What's been missing in Hollywood and the West was a narrative in a film in which an Iraqi was the protagonist in the Iraq War. That an Iraqi family could have the same hopes and dreams and love for their children that everyone in the world was experiencing was a narrative that was unfortunately not being told. There's a voice and a truth that's been left out of the larger narrative in Hollywood and mainstream media, and I felt that needed to change. From 2018 to 2020, a film I wrote and produced with an incredible and talented film team called A Star in the Desert introduces a new hero and the hero's journey during the first Gulf War in Iraq. And I'm proud to say that the protagonist is an Iraqi mother, a mother who loves her son more than life itself and has to deal with the reality that a war is about to start in her own country, and a 7-year-old who is aching for the return of his beloved dead father. What happened in this film and this story was happening right in the heart and center of our families in Iraq. This was our truth that was never shared. This short narrative film, A Star in the Desert, is really a tale about a 7-year-old Iraqi child's point of view on the first day of the Gulf War. And this film explores how children interpret war, as well as how they often retreat to fantasy and dreamscape in order to make sense of what's happening around them. We are all far more similar than we are different. And every person from every part of the world is a protagonist in their hero's journey. And no country or culture should have a monopoly on claiming the role of the hero.